Thank you, Kari, and good morning, everybody. I sure welcome everyone. I appreciate your time. These are challenging times to host a conference like this. I'm particularly glad to hear that tomorrow's session on public involvement will hopefully address, how best in our current virtual world and what kinds of technology and tools are available to facilitate public involvement, because certainly that's one of the key challenges, and obviously a challenge for an effort such as this, which is updating a 5-year plan. I think, in a lot of ways, and I don't know how many of us there are still yet engaged in this effort, but this effort started 16 years ago under the direction and the guidance of then Commissioner Hope Andrade with the Texas Transportation Commission. And it's hard to believe that it's been 15 years. It's hard to believe that this will be the third update effort to all of these plans. And I suspect very much that I can probably count on one or two hands the number of us who were actually there 15 years ago to see this effort get underway, and to be here today and to realize that we're on our third update effort really is really gratifying. It's been a lot of different people involved over the years. It's been the best of times, the worst of times in terms of trying to move this program forward. But I certainly appreciate all of your time here today and look forward to working with you on these updates. I think it's important to think about the original choice that was made and the significance of it to do these plans at the regional level. It's possible that you could undertake this kind of an effort at the statewide level. You could say that it's a public transportation plan and therefore public transportation districts should do the effort. But the decision was made back in 2004 and 5 to focus these plans at the regional level. And I think that was a recognition in a lot of ways that regionally, it was the collection of stakeholders and providers and mobility experts that offered the best opportunity to come together to coordinate and solve transportation problems. I think there was a belief that local solutions are best, that our ability at the state level to come up with something that would work everywhere is somewhat limited. And also, I think a belief that locally is where the creativity exists, that is where the fertile ground is for ideas and experiments and pilots and getting the right people engaged to deliver these services, no matter what they might be. And I think that's still true today. I think that was an incredibly important decision that could have been made differently. But I think it has shaped and guided the effort throughout these years in a way that no one could have foreseen. And again, it's been the best of times in many cases, and in other cases, it's been really, really challenging times. But I think that fundamentally that sort of grassroots approach, regionally, letting ideas bubble up from the local communities rather than trying a top-down solution, really has yielded a unique effort here in Texas, which I think fits Texas in a lot of different ways. So I think it's important to reflect on the history. And then I think when you look at the current update effort and put it in the context of the challenge that the current environment, the current pandemic represents for us, I think it becomes even more important to look at these plans as products of local and regional expression. The plans themselves and the conversations can really focus on a number of different kinds of things. I think perhaps the easiest conversation to have is, gee, if we had more money, what would we do with it? I think that's the easiest conversation to have. That's probably the first conversation everybody has. But I think anyone who's been doing this for a while understands very quickly that the more important question to ask is how to do more with what we have. And I think that is really the fundamental premise behind the whole notion of coordination. It's important to identify gaps for sure. And bringing people together who don't normally necessarily interact with each other to identify those gaps is incredibly valuable. But the more challenging and more ultimately, I believe, productive conversation around coordination is how can we coordinate to do more with what we have. And I think the areas who have tackled that question up until now are the areas that have struggled in many ways the most, but the outcome from that effort has been truly consequential for folks trying to move around. And I think the pandemic that we're in puts a slightly different twist to that question. And I think at least for the first couple years of these plans, the real question is going to be, how do we keep what we have with less? Because I think one of the real challenges out there is, we've not seen yet the complete impact, the complete economic impact, or we don't fully understand it on our ability at all levels to continue to fund and sustain what we have. And so how can coordination help us through this very challenging time where we're really confronted with a very, very difficult question of trying to sustain what we have with less until the state's economy and health programs can catch up and get us back on our feet and moving forward again. And then hopefully the outer years of the plans can contemplate a future where we are back on our feet and we have made it through this time frame. But I think anyone doing an update in this time frame has got to recognize that as the key challenge for these plans. Transit providers are struggling mightily in some very basic kinds of ways to sustain services, to keep their employees safe and healthy, to keep the riding customer healthy and safe. We have an influx of new technology and tools that are pushing us in directions we've not gone before in terms of coming up with mobility solutions and unique mobility options for people that can help and that can help in this situation. So I think it's an incredibly challenging time. It's a very fertile time for new ideas and creativity. And I think it's a time that's really, it's going to remind us, I think, in a lot of ways, that this effort of coordination is really, it's always been about the people involved doing it. That has always, it's the people doing it who have always made the difference. And in those regions where people have come together in a collaborative and cooperative way, we have seen tremendous progress. In those regions where there has been more of a struggle with people, without judging that struggle because it's real and their interests are real and valid, in those regions it's been more of a struggle. But it always comes down to the people involved. And I think that same basis for the work gives me a lot of confidence that we're going to emerge from this time frame in a better position than we were going in. I don't know quite what that picture looks like. That's what you all are charged with coming up with this update. And I think you can, I know you can count on us as a full partner in this effort. Kari, I have a tremendous amount of confidence in Kari and her skills to both communicate and collaborate and connect people with other people on ideas and how to get things done. So we will be a full partner in the effort. I wish you luck. And I hope you find the next day and a half helpful in your efforts to move forward to update your plans. So I appreciate the time and enjoy your conference. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Eric.